You might all have to press the got it button. Okay, so welcome everyone. So I'm really excited to introduce today's guest, Meharoona Ghani, and she and I did women's studies together at the University of Victoria a million years ago. And we sort of reconnected when I did the summit in January. That was great. And Meharoona, I don't know if it was in the Facebook group or where exactly, but I recognized her name, and we started up a conversation, and then obviously came to the awareness that we were both writers and embarked on this writing journey. And so I learned more about Meharoona's project, Letters to Rumi. I interviewed her in the Facebook group, and what I really appreciated about her process was the way that she was organizing her project. And I thought it would be really helpful for those of you who are working on a longer project to just have another option, in terms of organization, and invited her in to give this workshop. So thank you, Meharoona, for coming in and for sharing your great skill at mind mapping. I mean, this is also something that she did for her work and with clients. So it's cool that she's applied it to her project. And I think that's it. Do I have anything? You can add anything that you want, but I'm so grateful that you're here, and I've really appreciated your insights into the way that we can bring our project into a big project, into something that is visual and easy. I don't know if easy is ever the word, but easy to visualize in one place versus, a kind of scramble of papers, which is my preferred method. Okay, so I'll let you take it away, Meharoona.
Okay, thanks so much. Tracy, you always have a way of calming things, because I am nervous. And you always bring a sense of peace to even the Zoom room, virtual room. So thank you for inviting me to be here with all of you. I very much, I want to just say up front, I'm a growing writer. I'm working on my own book, and to me, this being with all of you is part of the journey where we're all in this together. I look at everybody as collaborators.
I inadvertently muted you, so I meant to.
Oh, goodness.
You, but sorry about that.
I'm already being cut off.
Yeah, I didn't mean to do that.
No, I'm joking. Yes. Okay, so thank you again for inviting me. And I was just saying, if people didn't hear me, I feel we're all being a writer, it's about being in a collective, and we collaborate together. And so I don't see myself as somebody coming here to telling you what to do. I see myself as somebody who has gone through learning and want to share. And hopefully it might help you in your own work as you're going forward. I'd like to start by acknowledging, and it's always really important for me to do this, acknowledge that I'm on the traditional unceded territories of the Algonquin peoples, which includes the Songhees, Esquimalt, and WSÁNEĆ. So I'm in Victoria, now known as Victoria. And I also want to mention, if I talk too fast, just let me know. I'll stay focused on being a slow talker, because I get kind of excited, and there's so many things I get passionate about. And I want to just visually describe myself. I'm a South Asian ancestry person. I have brown skin. I have black hair that's shoulder length and a bit wavy, and streaks of gray that I'm very proud of. And sometimes I get people saying, oh, you might want to dye it. And I say, I've earned every gray hair on my head. So I'm not going to dye it. And I'm wearing a red turtleneck sweater with a multicolored sort of coral scarf around my neck. And I'm going to be sharing a PowerPoint slide deck. And, I don't want to do PowerPoint, but I do this because it helps me stay focused. Otherwise, being a storyteller, I'll go off on a tangent and lose track. So it's important for me to just stay focused on what I want to say. So let me share that right now. And okay. Make sure. So is that working for people? Can see that? Okay. And just so you all know, this is the first time ever I'm doing a workshop in writing. So this is really quite exciting for me to try something new. So it's all in the mind, book mind map to organize content. And this is what we're going to work on today in case you're in the wrong room. So I want to start off by doing a strategy activity because I think it's really, I don't know about all of you, I always try to find ways to warm up when I'm going to write or if I want to think out of the box creatively. There's different techniques out there, and this is a technique that just came to me recently in another workshop, which I quite liked. It's called the oblique strategy activity. And I've put hopefully people can see on their chat, the link is on the chat. And it's very similar to, if anyone has ever heard of virtue reflection cards. And this is what virtue reflection card looks like. And it's a beautiful deck of cards that I got online many years ago. So my work platform, so my profession is I'm a community engagement diversity specialist. So I often bring my clients are people from various sectors, and I do diversity and inclusion workshops. And so I bring in reflection cards as a way for people to pick a card and to reflect on the word that they got and to share something about that. So I found this online platform through another workshop I was in, and I thought, hey, I really like this. And I thought it would be a nice way for us to warm up. And so I get to know you might all know each other, but I don't know all of you. And for me to get to know who's in the Zoom room. So if I could ask each of you to go into that link that's shared on the chat, and then you need to click on where it says, click here for a new pick. And when you click on that, you will get either a word or a phrase, and keep that in your memory and then I will do a round with all of you so we can do some sharing. So I'll give you a few minutes, and I can't see the chats, Tracy. So hopefully if anybody is having any problems or anything, you can kind of let me know or navigate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if when we do the introductions, you want to stop sharing your screen so we can go back to
Yes,
the gallery view. And
for sure, I'll do that.
Okay.
Okay, has everybody good? You've got okay, I see thumbs up. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go throughout the room, and I will name. Okay. And what we'll do is I'll start off with myself, and then I'm going to throw the ball, the imaginary ball, and name off somebody who can go next. And what I want you to do is just to share, give your name and what genre you're writing in with your project right now, and then share the word or the phrase that came up for you through that link. And we'll begin with me. My name, as you heard, is Meharoona, and my name means light of the moon. It's a Persian derivative. It means light of the moon. The genre I'm working in, my book, Letters to Rumi, is creative nonfiction, and it's a hybrid form, and I will get into that later. So it's creative nonfiction book. And the word I got was so fascinating. It was accretion. And I had to look it up because I was like, I have no idea what that means. And what it means is process of growth or increase. And there was examples of layers of sediments. It was in the context of the earth. And I really loved that because that felt very reflective of the book, and the work that we're doing is around growth and increase and layers, unpacking the layers. So I'm going to throw the ball to Nancy Hall.
Hi, I'm Nancy. And what was the next thing? I'm sorry.
It's okay, no problem. Sharing the genre you're writing.
Oh, I'm working in memoir.
Okay.
And the phrase that came up was change instrument roles. ROLES.
ROLES?
Yeah.
Wow.
Change instrument roles, which sort of initially I'm going, well, that's just sort of three random words. What is that supposed to mean? But maybe what it's supposed to mean is, just guessing here, let's take a rock band. Let's say we're featuring the bassist. Maybe we shouldn't be right now. Maybe we should be featuring somebody else in the band. Or maybe in our orchestra, we should be featuring the reeds and not the violins. Whatever. I'm going to think about that a lot.
Yeah. Hold on to that.
Yeah.
Okay, who you're going to pass the ball on to next?
Let's pass the ball on to someone I don't know. Mary Ellen.
Well, now we know each other.
That's right.
I'm Mary Ellen. My genre is a quasi-memoir because I'm throwing fiction into it. My word was actually organic machinery. And what popped into my head that if I pay attention to nature, ants in motion would be organic machinery. The way they're out there and trudging along and working all the time. And I bet if I sat here longer, I'd come up with more. So I will throw the ball to Anne Hamilton.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Anne, and my genre is memoir, and it's my first writing foray, so I'm learning a lot as we go. I clicked on the first one, and my word was also accretion, but I didn't know what it meant, so I clicked on another one. So thank you for explaining that. I thought it'd be faster. My second one was quite interesting. It came up and it said abandon normal instruments. And it kind of follows the same theme as what Nancy was just saying. Is like, maybe there's another way of looking at this, that, the tools can be different. You don't need to do things in the same way. And I kind of think about that myself in my normal life anyway. So Yeah, it fits me quite well. I'm quite abnormal. Glad to be here. And I will pass over to Shelley.
Thanks, Sam. Good morning. My name's Shelley Evans. I live in Victoria. I coined my genre as Canadian magical realism. And my phrase was give the game away. And it was interesting because I kind of struggled with that. It's to me had kind of a negative connotation. But then as I thought about it more and listening to you guys, it felt more about whatever the giving the game away is. It was really reflecting my own resistance to that because I felt so negative when I heard that phrase. It's like, well, is it that I should give the game away? Or am I giving the game away? It just felt like whatever it wasn't a good thing. And then, so I really think it's more about resisting whatever that phrase means. And maybe the reverse of that is acceptance. So I'm going to have to think
Beautiful.
about that more, but I'm going to take it as meaning acceptance. And I'm going to throw the ball or pass the ball gently to Carol.
Oh, thank you, Shelley. I really like that passing gently. Thank you. When I went into the site, the first one, and I don't know if everybody else received this as well, breathe more deeply. Did everybody get that? No? Okay, then I'll stay with that one. Mine was breathe. Oh, first of all, I'm Carol, and I'm a twin, and I was born a few days before Christmas, and my brother's name is Noel. So my mom named us Carol and Noel. So that was her gift. That was her gift to us. So breathe more deeply, I feel, is this so fitting because this is what I've been trying to practice daily, in that when I breathe more deeply, I settle into an openness, into an openness space where I feel connected. So whether it's something that I'm going into, first of all, I'm writing a nonfiction memoir. And the first part of my memoir is looking at dealing from shortly after I was born through to 18 years of age. I thought this is my first go at anything writing. So this is going to be a big enough chunk for me to bite off. So yes, I'm just trying to connect with my awareness of memories that I've had, thoughts that I have now, and to go into those thoughts with openness and be non-judgmental, and trying to write in a non-judgmental way, but is truly the way I am from the past, and recognizing how I've grown, and I'm still that same person, but different in many ways. Thank you, Shelley.
Beautiful. So who would you like to gently hand the ball to?
Oh, gently hand the ball to. Let me see. Well, let me see. We've had Anne, Mary Ellen, Nancy, have we had you? Oh dear. Who's left?
Me.
Oh my, look at all of them. Okay. How about Betty? I don't know Betty.
Thank you, Carol. I'm Betty. I'm writing a fictional novel based on a trip that I took, but I'm fictionalizing it all. And the word I got today was just so appropriate. I didn't even understand it at first, and I read it 3 times before I went, oh my goodness, this is perfect. It said, change nothing and continue with immaculate consistency.
Wow.
Tracy will understand this, I'm sure, because she and I have just had a discussion about whether I'm going to change my whole novel into something else. Hopefully my phone will quit ringing. So I will not. I'm going to keep the first chapter the way it is and continue from there, and change nothing. So it was really a good little prompt for me, and it was just sort of like confirmation of where I've been thinking and what I've been talking about and what I've been discussing with people and what I've been hoping would happen. So thank you, universe. And thank you, Carol. So I'd like to pass the ball then to Aziza. And I'll mute so we might be quiet.
Sorry, I think I started talking a bit too early. I hope it's okay that I keep my camera on. Wi-Fi is really bad. And I'm also already in my pajamas because it's nighttime here already. But my name is Aziza, and it means dearest one or darling in Arabic. And I like writing psychological fiction. And my word was courage with an exclamation mark. And I think that's so fitting because I actually have a lot of anxiety. I'm sure you guys can hear that as well. And at the moment, I'm doing a few things, like I'm taking risks and I'm taking a chance, but it's still giving me a lot of anxiety and I'm finding it hard to kind of stick with it. So the word is just like encouragement to just, be brave and just like do it and just like take a chance, and just a reminder that I mustn't, give up and give in. So yeah, that's basically mine. Thanks so much.
Thank
Oh,
you.
do I need to pass it on?
Yes.
I think Mindy, if it's okay. Yeah, I think she didn't go.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks. Yep. Had to get the double mute situation taken care of here. So Mindy from Lansing, Michigan, and I live on the traditional land of the Odawa and Potawatomi. As far as genre, trying to figure that out, I would say right now I'm in the exploratory phase, not really sure. And the phrase that I got was a very small object, its center. And
sorry, what
the
was
first thing I
can
thought
you
of,
say?
oh yeah,
Can you
sorry.
say your word?
A very small object,
Okay.
its center. So that made me think immediately of all of Tracy's discussions about the heart and kind of getting to the marrow of things in a story. And then I started getting some anxiety about not being able to do that.
Awesome. Thank you. And Tracy, you're the last person, so you're included here. Thank you, Mindy.
All right, I'm Tracy, and I'm currently working on a creative nonfiction essay. And the thing I got, which I read to Meharoona before we started, and I thought it was appropriate particularly for today's workshop, is what are the sections of? What are the sections of imagine a caterpillar moving? So I am going to take that and really think about the movement of caterpillar, and also how that's sort of sometimes how we move forward, not only in the writing, but actually in the work itself. So we'll see. We'll see what that means. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. That was really great. I loved, that was so much fun. And, I think sometimes, and I hear you all with, all your thoughts around, trying to unpack what it could mean or the potential of your words or your phrases. And it sometimes doesn't come right away, and it comes after a little bit of time. And yes, there's anxiety too, for sure. And because when you try to describe and try to find a meaning around that, then, and if you try to associate it with also your own writing, then you think, oh, really? Oh, this makes me kind of nervous. But this is what I think writing can be, and what really life is about, being curious and going into the unknown, and sometimes it's risky. So thank you for participating and being a part of this exercise process. That I really love that. So I'm going to go back to screen share. Let me figure that out again, and then we can get back to where I'm at here. Okay. Okay. So coming back to the book mind map process, and I heard, there's different genres that people have here that they're working on, memoir, realism, fiction, nonfiction. And it's also great that, and totally fine to be in this place of exploratory. Sometimes going through these kinds of exercises, and what I'm going to be talking about around the book mind map might help with that exploratory phase that Mindy, you are in at the moment, and some of you others might be as you're going through various sections and trying to organize your content. I also want to just say, this might work for all of you and it might not. It's just another tool in your toolkit to try out and to be exploratory around, to see if it might help you. So for me, as I mentioned, my book is a critical, it's a creative nonfiction. And it's something I've been working on since, oh my goodness, it's been about 8-9 years. And only in this last year has it become more clear. And so I'm saying this not to add anxiety, but to saying that it takes time to go through some of the processes of finding one's story. So creative nonfiction hybrid, and hybrid, why I use that word is because the work that I'm doing is taking in various forms of literary devices that I'm using. So I'm using epistolary, confessional, lyrical prose and poetry, something called embedded narrative, and mise en abîme, which means story within story. So Letters to Rumi is started out 12 years ago through me seeing quotes of Rumi's work. And those quotes I was taking and responding back to in my own narrative. And as I was responding back to those quotes, then I discovered, oh, well, that's what an epistolary genre is. Except in my situation, it's nonfiction. Epistolary genre usually is in fictional writing. It's a letter format, writing a letter to someone, which is in a fiction, but I'm turning it around into nonfiction. And I'm also using confession, where I'm writing about, in the contemporary context of today's world, my story is around identity and belonging. It's my autobiography of identity and belonging. So my experiences of racism, sexism, and also focused on my journey around multiple sclerosis. So I have MS and I'm a person with a disability. So this book mind map process, what I have discovered, and perhaps being here with all of you, it will be a bit of a test for all of us. But what I have discovered is that it does work for various genres and literary devices. And you might be able to see that today as we move forward through the exercise that I have planned out. So I will show you this real board a little bit later, but right now what you're seeing on the screen is, so this is like, I'm an artist. So to go back a little bit, I paint, I do watercolor paints and acrylics. And so this board is just like a canvas. It's what I used to tape my paint paper on. So I have this board, and on it is a series of words, and it's just showing you sort of the final product of what my mind map, my book mind map looked like, but I'll break this down as we move forward. So the book mind map architecture, so what I'm calling it, the architecture and the process of how I got there. Now, it's been what, 8 years since 2012. I started Letters to Rumi, and in that amount of time, I have written a lot of material. So in the very first slide, let me just go back here if I'm able to. Hang on a second. This first slide shows the picture of a binder, and it's my binder, and it's about 15 centimeters. I measured it to see how much, so it's the width of, my full hand, 15 centimeters of all the writing I've done since I was a kid. But it still doesn't have all the writing I've done in the last 2 years of Letters to Rumi. So I just wanted to show you that what I did was I took as much as possible and printed it all out and put it into one binder. And as a way to start my first step of organizing, and it still felt haphazard. It still felt at the time disorganized. So when I did that, I realized I have all these ideas and all these pieces in my head, but I still couldn't figure out how to organize it in sections and take that content and see where does this content lie in this whole book of Letters to Rumi. So the way I went around this, I thought, okay, let me brainstorm the words that were coming to me, and let me just brainstorm as much as possible. And then I decided, so it would have been around in 2016, on my own Facebook page, I decided, okay, let's ask all the people who are following me for words. So what I did was I asked my followers, if you had one question that you wanted to ask of Rumi, what would that be? And the question had to be in one word. It's kind of similar to the virtue cards and this exercise we just opened up with the oblique strategies. What would that question be in one word? And also, I didn't want to read essays. And for those of you who might not know who Rumi is a Muslim Sufi mystic imam from the 13th century. And he was also a writer, a poet, and his full name is Jalaluddin Rumi. And so I am writing letters to him. So when I asked all these folks the question, I got all these words. And in the last year, so the other thing I meant to mention is I was an artist in residence at UVic for as a literary artist. continuing to write my book. And I just finished that at the end of August. And it's with the Center for Studies on Religion and Society. So it was in that context that I took all these words that had been given to me in 2016, and I put them all out onto a wall, actually. So these words came to me from all my friends and followers, and I mapped it all out into onto the wall, and then from there I transferred it onto this wooden board, and it's just what I wanted to use for myself. And I also, what I did was, in order to get to that space, I'm a creative, and I'm a person who wanted to say to myself, I just said, let's just get messy. Let's just scrap all that, like I didn't want to scrap in terms of throw it all out. I didn't want to get stuck on the binder, because the binder was giving me anxiety. And to do more printouts, I was getting anxious about killing trees. So I was just like really wrapped up in my head, and I thought, okay, let's just stop. Let's just grab all my scraps of paper that I have as an artist, whatever's lying around, and grab my colors, my paints, my felts, my crayons, and let's just get messy and take all those words that were given to me by my friends and write it all out onto these pieces of paper. Then I cut up that paper, I taped it on the wall, and then transferred it onto this easel. Or sorry, this board, and then I put it onto this easel. I also used green painter tape. It's just whatever tape I had lying around, but I liked this green painter tape because the idea here was I didn't want to make anything permanent. And this way, these words could also shift. It also showed me I could move things around. So to come back to the word patterns, I once I did that, I walked away. Like once I put these things on a wall, and let me go back. I put it on a wall. I walked away and I said, okay, I just need a break from this after a few days. And I kept coming back and I kept shifting it around. And then I saw something and I said, okay, I see something happening here. And I put it over onto the brown board, and I started to see patterns. And I started to cluster these words into groups. And then something else happened. There was themes emerging, and it was evolving. And then there was another thing that happened. I started to see gaps, and I started to see in those gaps other words that felt important to me. And so in my case, the themes that evolved, that I saw was the first theme is self. The second theme was reason and knowledge. And the third theme was understand divine existence. So for you folks, what I would ask you to think about and hold on to here, if you're stuck, or when you're stuck, or you're in the exploratory phase, is mapping these words onto, write down words, pick virtue cards, or do this oblique exercise that we just did, and see the words that are generated and write them down. And then notice, is there a pattern? Ask yourself, is there a pattern? Do you see themes emerging? Are there gaps? And where can you move words around if they don't make sense in certain areas? There's one word you'll see here, it says Jedi, and that was my acronym for justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. And that is a significant area of my book and the theme that I'm looking at in terms of addressing. So At this point, I want to ask, are there any initial questions of clarity? Is there anything that's percolating that you want to ask me at this point? We will be going into another exercise shortly, but, and I'll just stop share so that I can see you folks better. It's hard for me to see. Hang on. Okay, there we go. So at this point, is there anything that you need clarity on?
I don't know if it's clarity, but I'm curious at what stage you do this. This is something that I do kind of often. And I'm curious if you do this like in the early stages, if you do it like as you're writing at various stages, and whether the categorization changes drastically for you.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be dependent on each person, on where they're at. And I would suggest, so in your situation, Mindy, you had mentioned that you're in an exploratory phase still in terms of genre. And that's going to happen. And so what I'm going to say is, you can do this exercise at any point to help you wherever you're feeling stuck. And I'm just saying that as somebody who has been stuck at different points in my journey of writing. And as I mentioned, I've been writing this book since 2012. And at each moment, so 2012, I started writing. 2016 was when I finally had an aha moment of, why don't I ask other people, what word would you ask of Rumi? And then I didn't approach those words, I didn't reapproach those words until 2019, right? So there's been phases for me in my place of journey, my writing place. And so what I'm trying to say in a long-winded way is that it's going to depend on each person on when they want to apply this technique and when you might find it useful. I only realized, I had my aha moment. I was like, oh, wait a minute. I do mind mapping all the time in my work hat place. And I thought, what if I take that and use it in this process? I wish I had thought about it 12 years ago and I didn't. Right? Sorry, in 2012. I haven't done the math. How long ago was that? It's been, I guess, 8, 9 years. So anyways, I hadn't thought of that and I wish I had. So now I have, and it's okay. It's not too late. You can apply it. If you want to apply it now, Mindy, you can. And we will try it out together in a bit. Does that help you, Mindy?
It does. If I can just one super quick follow up.
Sure.
So I guess I'm curious whether, like, what is the aim for you? Like, are you or what is the impact? Does it help with structuring your book? Does it help with creating ideas, right? Like, when you use this, what are you getting out of it?
It helped me structure. It helped me, so when we come back, I will show, after we do the exercise, I will show you the slide, the last slide again, and then I'll show you the actual board. So it helped of what the realization was for me. It helped me structure. It helped me with identifying, and you will see, I will also share another screen in a bit, which shows you where I'm at now in terms of the structure and what it helped clarify for me. So it was the structure it helped me with. It helped me identify the gaps in my writing. It helped me identify what are the critical pieces, the core pieces of my manuscript. And it helped me identify the underlying foundational themes. So those 3 themes I mentioned around self, reason and knowledge, and divine existence. That is the underlying themes, that is the foundation of my book. The one thing I didn't, I forgot to highlight in that picture that I showed you of the whole vision board. And I've taken off the share screen. I'll come back to it. There was words underneath that whole vision board that said trunk. And there was a picture of these little dangling roots. Oh, somebody can't hear me. Sorry, Carol. Can you hear me now, Carol?
It may be on her end because I can hear you fine. So if anyone else is having trouble hearing, you could mention. I'll chat with Carol.
Okay. Okay, I'm just gonna, in this 1 second, I'm gonna go back to share screen so I can show you that screen. Let me go back here. And apologies if I don't see you properly, it's because I'm on the share screen thing. So see how once I applied this book mind map process, I found the themes: self, reason, knowledge, understand divine existence. And at the very bottom of the board, there's a word trunk. And then there's little dangling, little dangling things there. So that's just me trying to be creative in my own way. So what I discovered with Letters to Rumi, as I'm writing this memoir, the trunk, actually what it is there's a handmade steel galvanized trunk that my family has, my parents had as part of their journey when they migrated here. My mother, when she married my dad, it's her trunk. She migrated here to Canada when they got married from East Africa. And it's a handmade galvanized trunk. And it's from this trunk, stories are being released. And it's from this trunk, Rumi is being engaged for me in terms of questions and making sense of this overarching idea of identity and belonging for me and my family in our journey in Canada, and for me being born and raised in Canada. So that trunk, suddenly, once I did this little mind map thing, I realized, oh my goodness, the trunk is the container of my book. Now, I couldn't draw out, I didn't have the room to draw the rooms or the wall space to draw out an actual container. So I used these words trunk at the very bottom of this little wooden board as a way to reflect a container for me. And then I've put at the very bottom that just little words, sentences to help me. One says trunk equals container equals releases, stories, questions, and Rumi helps to weave the story for me. And then I also have written a little sort of phrase, don't write what I know, write what I'd like to know. So they're just little mantras, I guess, if you want to say that, to help me stay focused. And so in doing that little discovery of the container and those words, trunk, I suddenly realized, well, trunk also has another significant metaphor and meaning to me of a tree and the roots. So there's this whole symbolism for me around this tree and the growth and expansion of that tree alongside my story. And the roots, those dangling little pictures you saw, they're actually roots. And so one of my writer friends had said, go deeper. And I said, well, I'm actually afraid. And he said, well, that's where your story is. So that roots is a reminder for me to go deeper into the story and that fear and what that would look like for me. So all of this imagery became really important to me. Yes, anyone else? I hope that helped you, Mindy. Okay,
Hi, it's me, Aziza.
Aziza.
I actually love the idea of this. Yeah, I did something similar when I was writing my first book and then also with my current book. But I call it like a mood board. And I use this website called Canva. And on my mood board, I also, it's like a collage of words and pictures and, all kinds of things to remind me of the themes and the characters of, the current project. And when I'm writing, it really helps when I look at it and then, you get ideas and you get inspiration and it just like puts you into that mood to kind of go deeper into your story. So I do definitely think that this works really well.
Great. That's
Sorry, it wasn't
wonderful.
much of a question.
That's
Just
okay.
comments. Yeah.
That's okay. No, thank you for sharing that comment. I also wanted to come back to just giving an example of, I've been asked about what to give an example of my writing of divine existence. And so would you give an example of your writing of divine existence? I'm trying to understand what that could mean, that question. So what's fascinating is for me, that question is, that's the story, that's the journey I'm on at the moment, and that's the journey the book is in. And what I mean by that is, alongside, as I did this book mind map, once I did this, part of my journey and research as a writer who's writing this work was to really delve deeply into researching Jalaluddin Rumi's translated work that's been translated by a Muslim and by a Persian speaking author. And this was critical and important to me, so that I could get to the essence of what Rumi's work is about. And in doing that, and so the critical work that I'm researching is Rumi's Masnavi, which is over 6 volumes. And it is translated by somebody named Javed Mojaddadi, who is Persian speaking, and he is slowly translating those 6 volumes. And Masnavi literally means couplet. So that couplet that Rumi started out writing is over 6 volumes. It's one couplet over 6 volumes. So Javed Mojaddadi has only translated so far 4 volumes of the 6. Why? So that's a little bit of context. When I read that, and through that reading, I discovered that Rumi's work and writing was alongside the Sufi path. So he was Sufi Muslim, and the Sufi path is about understanding self. And I'm giving this explanation in a very general, loose way so that we can move on to keep moving on forward. So Sufi path is about annihilating the self, and annihilating the self means unpacking the ego, going through the various emotions that one goes through at different moments in one's life, through loss and grief, sadness, fear, overcoming fear. It's a lot about the ego identity and unpacking that. And when you annihilate the self, then you go to the next phase in the Sufi path, is around reason and knowledge. And what do you do through that process of reason and knowledge? You try to come to some kind of understanding to reach a divine existence and to reach, an understanding of the divine existence. So in Hindu philosophy, it may be reaching nirvana, reaching the creator in other philosophies. So there's different ways that could be looked at in terms of the context of the Sufi path. So when I learned that, I discovered that's actually, those three themes is something similar to what I'm doing. And it suddenly gave me a realization of my book. Now, I'm giving you a lot of information, and I recognize that. And but I'm hoping it's helpful to show you that I went through a lot of research in order to get to the place of clarity I needed to get to. And the only other last step I would say for me in my book journey, the other research was doing the research around the Quran. The Quran is the Muslim Bible. And when I did that research as I'm reading, and again, it was important for me to find English translators that gave me different varieties of understanding. And once I read the translation, Rumi made sense. Rumi's work made sense. And this is important because Rumi's work has been translated in the Western context in North America by a lot of non-Muslim people. And so their versions of quotes will be from their understanding and their connection and resonation. That is different from my understanding of Rumi and the Quran. So all this research was important to really dig more deeply into clarifying what is my themes and what am I unpacking in my contemporary context of my autobiographical journey. Now, so I hope, Carol, you're sharing direct messages with me, which is wonderful. I appreciate, but I hope I'm answering those questions you've asked of me. And I'm sorry, I'm not able to catch up quick enough, fast enough. Is it okay? I haven't seen the last message you sent yet. Are you okay with what I've addressed so far, Carol?
Yes, I am. And it's also triggered something that has been underneath my writing, which has not been acknowledged in the way I write with the background that I've had. So I'm really grateful that, this is the essence of where the writing is coming from. So I needed clarification, and I received that loud and clear.
Okay, thanks, Carol. And I hope you didn't mind me, because I know you sent direct message. I hope you didn't mind me just asking outright, because I was trying to catch up. I have MS, so sometimes my eyes don't catch up quick with the words on the screen. So I hope you don't
like
mind.
I even took your description when you were talking about the drawing at the bottom of your chart of being as an interpretation from a divine place. And to me, that was like an affirmation.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Carol. Thank you. I'm so glad. Okay. So was there any other like clarifying questions at this stage that if not, then I can move on to, because I feel like we can move on to this exercise, because you're all talking about ideas that I feel like we can get into this exercise place.
Nancy, I did notice your hand. Are you good?
It's really very simplistic in light of what Meharoona has been talking about. But what I'm taking away, and it's very important for me, is that I need to visualize in some way, whether it's a tree or however I do it. I need to visualize the structure and the microstructure, the little things, and the macro that weaves in and out, and somehow get it up on a wall or a floor or someplace so I can stand back and let it sink in and then make changes. we all work with words every day, but this is visual.
Yeah, totally, Nancy. I'm so glad you brought it back to the very simple words, visual. I'm a visual person. I'm an artist, and I needed to organize in such a way that I could see all this headspace stuff that was going on, and all this binder stuff that was just drowning me. And I said, let's just go back to something simple and visualize it and see. Then I can see what it looks like. And there was something about texture too.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, there was a joy in cutting paper.
Yeah, and crayons and all sorts of markers, but it also it is processing structure. Even though you're using your favorite markers and having fun, that is processing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to take away a big arts and crafts project for the weekend.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Thanks for saying that. Yeah. And the other thing I would say, like, there was also a joy in moving those words around and also discovering what words were not needed or words that were duplicates.
Yeah.
And then I tore them up. So it felt a bit liberating and free. Okay, so let's just move on to, and I think I'm hoping you'll find this useful. We're going to move on. Let me just get back to the share screen so you can see. Where am I at? Okay. So we're going to do a little exercise here. And Tracy, you're going to kind of help me probably facilitate that a little bit or organize it. We're going to, what I'd like to, so we have, I think I counted, let's see, there's 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7 people today. I'm not able to see the screen again.
Yeah, I think we're 7. I mean, we're 10 in the room, and then you and I, so
okay,
10 minus 2 is 8. But Anne says she has to go to the dentist at 11:15. I thought you'd come back from the dentist, Anne. So we'll have 7 then.
Okay, so we're going to do a little partner exercise, and what's going to happen is, so I kind of thought about that today. It's almost like a talk therapy. I've been in a talk therapy situation. So basically, it's in your partners, each of you is going to take a turn to talk about your book. And we're going to go into a breakout room situation. And I've created like a very generic starting off question. And I feel like this is a good question to ask. Tell me about your book. And from that, so you have the one partner is sharing, one partner is listening, the listener is writing down what are, the key words that listener hears. It might be words, one word or a sentence. And then that listener, once you're done that, you're each going to have 10 minutes. And once the listener has done that, that listener can share back what they heard, and that listener can draw it out in a map. So Tracy, shall you and I do this as a little practice round, if as an example?
Sure.
It might help.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's figure out how to configure that on the screen. So if you stop sharing your screen.
Yeah.
And okay, I'm just going to see in terms of the recording if I can pin and see. Oh, there we go. We're side by side. Awesome.
Okay. So Tracy, so I'm going to ask you, tell me about, you had mentioned you're working on a creative nonfiction essay.
Yes.
So tell me about that.
Okay, it's a creative nonfiction essay that talks about, it takes place on, well, it is an essay that takes place during the heat dome, or that's its present time. So it's sort of flashes back and forth between my lawyer's office and the lake, which this summer brought a very kind of visceral awareness to the severity of climate change. Do I just keep talking?
Yeah, normally that's what would happen.
Okay, okay.
And we're kind of doing an abridged version, right? Because I'm sure
Yeah.
everybody else is going to get bored. So
I'll just say the other piece is like it's also coincided with signing the separation agreement that, you know, is the end of my marriage.
Okay, so normally we would do this for 10 minutes, and I would set up a timer, which I'm going to do when we get going. And when I do this with clients, I just listen and they keep talking. And if I have other questions, I will ask questions, because usually questions come up that I want to ask. And sometimes if client is stuck, I will throw in a question like, what's your favorite color? Or what emotion do you feel in that favorite color? Just to stir it up a little bit and get other words going. And normally what I would do is I draw it out. So what I heard Tracy, the keywords that I got, so she would be talking a lot more than what we've done right now, but heat dome, climate change, separation agreement, end of marriage. On the very side note, I put lawyer's office and lake. Oh, but you're not going to be able to see this very well on here. Darn. Let me see if I can. Yeah, because I do in pencil. So if I do, what I would do is I would draw out CNF essay in the center as a center box. And I've got heat dome off on the side, climate change. I'm just redoing this so I can show you all. If we were in a room, I'd be using a chalkboard or some whiteboard situation. Okay. End of marriage. Here's office. And I heard the word lake, and I might be totally off.
No.
Are you?
So if you pull it back just a little bit there.
Yeah. Can you see this?
Yep.
It's really messy, sorry. So see the center box, it says CNF essay. And then on the sides, I've written the main words that I heard. And at the very bottom, I've put lawyer and lake. Now, obviously we would be talking more and we would go through this. And what I would do is hand this to you and see if there is something you would want to unpack a little more under these words. And I would go through each of these words and say, okay, tell me a little more about end of marriage.
It's my next book.
Yeah. but it might be,
Yeah.
it might, and I could purposely,
words like grief. And
yeah, I could enforce on you, tell me in 5 minutes, end of marriage. Tell me 5 words in end of marriage. Tell me 5 words about separation agreement. Tell me 5 words of climate change, 5 words of heat dome. Like I could structure it in such a way to force you, like, sorry, I'm using strong word because Sometimes I believe when we're in tight timeline like that, words come up quickly.
Yeah, I like to think of it as a pressure cooker.
That's a good word.
Yeah. And Anne just wrote the word cauldron, which is a good word too.
Yeah, that's a good
It's
word.
nice and witchy. Yeah,
So
awesome.
can we set up these partner groups?
Yeah, here, I want to, because I know Nancy had to leave, Anne has to leave,
Okay.
Carol is going at 11:30.
Oh, okay.
So, and yeah, we have a couple of people leaving. We are gonna, Carol, do you still want to go into a breakout room? Do you have time? How long do they each have? 10 minutes
I
or
had said-
7 minutes?
Yeah, we could do 7, like, because it's a small, yeah, we could do 7 minutes. I
Okay.
had done 10 minutes because I said out of that, then I figured it would take long, but I don't know.
Yeah, maybe we should do 5 minutes each,
Yeah,
just because, and then, a minute in there to switch. And that way, Carol can have a chance to go in
yeah.
and Anne can get her teeth cleaned. Okay, so I will assign that, and I don't know, I think Mindy is off on a call, so I'm just going to open the rooms. Is that okay? Do you want to send them off with instructions before I do?
The instruction is ask each person, tell me about your project. And you write down what they say, exactly what Tracy and I just did. And each person's, when 5 minutes are up, I'll say switch to to the person that hasn't spoken.
Yeah, okay. And I will put in 12 minutes. All right. So away we go. Hopefully Betty will come back. She's gone. We've got you in a room with Betty, Carol. So okay. Yeah, so the challenge, so Aziza, you're with, there we go. So Betty.
So we're good. I'll start the timer.
Yeah, Betty is gone from her spot, and I had Carol.
Do you want to put Carol into like a 3 people group then?
Okay. Okay. Then it'll be a longer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll give more. Just.
Okay,
Oh,
who am I with?
we changed you because Betty's sort of taken leave.
Okay.
So we're going to give you a little bit more time and put you in with Aziza and Shelley.
Oh, I just left them. They said, Carol, you don't belong here.
Yeah, no, just tell them we had to, yeah, because of numbers. There we go. I'm also going to see if I can.
Is Mindy gone too?
She's gone on a call.
Oh, okay.
So that the problem is that they're going to end up. So Carol, how about we go in a room together? Why don't I? Yeah, okay. Why don't I do that with you, Carol? So let me just reconfigure. And okay, so I'm going to join room 2. Can you join? Let me. How come I can't move to? We're going to go to room 3, Carol, you and I. Okay.
So do I just start? I'll just start the timer for 5 minutes right now, and then I'll do a 5 minute.
Yeah, I don't know if I have to do the. Can you do the breakout? Can you get into the breakout room,
Me, I'm not able to get into anything.
Okay, maybe if I,
Why don't we just do this right now? Like just me, you, and Carol right here.
okay,
Just
okay,
keep me here. Don't do anything.
that sounds good. Okay, why
And I'll
don't,
just start a
I'll
timer.
mute
Yeah.
and we'll let Carol speak.
Oh,
Okay.
all right. My book is a memoir. It's about my little girl self growing up and recognizing when Carol was born, she had head surgery. And I really didn't, I just lived my life up until about 3 or 4 and just noticing that I was kind of, I think perhaps I didn't talk. I don't remember talking. But then about 5 years old, I started trying to talk. And I couldn't get a word out because I stuttered. So I go into the book then from age 5 to 18, going into the various challenges that I had and that I really did not like my life and how I didn't like my life and why I didn't like my life. And so in the now, I reflect with my older self, seeing the goodness and that I didn't see at the time. And going into that place of divine existence, having a sense of gratitude for what I've been through. And that's it. I don't want to get wordy because I know with Tracy and writing a story, you don't want to get flowery and didactic and all that kind of stuff. So that's it essentially. And I did not find my voice until after I married and after I got a job, graduated, married, had children. And it was only when I had to stand up for my children that I was able to find my voice. But that's not in this first section of my book. It is a sense of confession. And it is coming from a place of divinity because I can tell you that I tried taking my life. I guess it wasn't very serious and thank goodness it didn't happen. And I went through many years of mental health counseling. And I became a Christian Science practicing nurse. And I practice meditation daily. So that's the now. So it's, how much do I put in that first book? I want it to be a little Carol, but I'm coming from a place of knowledge, of a deep place of existence that little Carol didn't even know about. However, she did. I remember my mom singing, Jesus loves me. Yes, I know, for the Bible tells me so. I thought, what in the heck does that mean? And who was, I knew Jesus was Jesus. And he was a figure to look up to. But I mean, it was flighty. It was just flighty. I didn't know. I didn't ask, but I thought, well, he loves me. And I kind of carried that close to my chest. Now I just came to that. So I'm sure that there'll be a lot of stuff unfolding as I go into my little self. So it's keeping that voice, my adult voice, my now 75-year-old voice, trying to keep it into that simple 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, etc. That's it. I'm out. I'll shut them out because Tracy knows I can go on and on. do you want to expand on your book anymore, Tracy? Okay.
No, I'm just sort of monitoring time for the other group and doing that. So I'll let Meharoona reflect back to you
Okay.
what she heard.
Are you gonna tell them, the other group, when 5 minutes are up so they can?
I've already done
Oh,
done that.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, good.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you, Tracy.
thank you, Carol. So this is not gonna look nice because it's like, this is the way I draw things out, and it's not gonna make sense to you. So I'm just going to read, if that's okay.
I like it.
Oh, you do? Okay, good.
Oh, yeah, because my thoughts, I did watercolor. I've been a watercolor artist. I've done pottery, professional. That was a long time ago. So my thoughts are, they can go every which way.
Okay.
And what writing is doing is structuring.
Yes. So I took, like, I created the center box as memoir.
Yes.
Okay. So that's just in terms of the structure. However, with that said, what I heard is this, and I put it closer to memoir, was the now. You repeated now a couple of times, meaning you're in the now. You're in the now. You want the now.
Yeah.
I heard that a few times. And so I felt like this memoir is about the now. And you said older self a couple of times too.
Yeah.
So it felt like this older self now is the most important thing for you.
Yes.
And you want to you also said keeping the adult voice. And so through that, and I'm just saying what I heard. When I hear the now, the older self, and keeping the adult voice, it feels like that is integral, and that is the place you're writing from. And I really also like this Jesus Loves Me song that you got from your mom, that you heard, with your mom, because it feels like that's an impetus, that is something that moved you. Even if it was a later reminder, it's moved you. There's something underlying around that and in the now.
I've got goosebumps. Yeah.
So there's something in there. And so that the Jesus Loves Me could be this underlying impetus. And that the little girl I've put on the farther corner, meaning that seems a little bit farther. It's there, but it's
Right.
The now is the closest area.
Right. And I feel as though, just by listening to you, my older self, it's almost as if I am protecting that little girl.
Right.
And it's not easy to write.
No.
But I'm going to persevere because I like her.
Yes. Persevere. I did put down.
Just want to let you know that there's a minute left. So
Okay.
in a minute, everybody will come back.
Okay, so I'm just going to share the last few words that I heard you say, that I jotted down. Tried taking your life. There might be something there. That's an outer box area. Even though this book isn't about the finding the voice right now, it's still something there. Like you made a comment saying, now this isn't not in this book about finding voice. Right. But I just kind of parked that a little bit, because you did mention finding voice a couple of times too, in the context of keeping the voice of the little girl.
Right.
Like you said little girl, and life, the little girl Carol.
And also, if I can reflect too, what I heard was I couldn't get words out, which is also voice, and stutter is voice. So there's something,
And 5-year-old started, and the study, talks, you stuttered and you didn't like life. Yeah. So those are the key words that I heard.
Thank you.
And a little bit of that structure. I hope that
And I
helps.
don't think that, oh, thank you, because I haven't said it so succinctly, even though I rambled a bit. But in poetry in the past, I've written nice things. And I find it difficult to write challenging, honest things. I guess that's part of being human. And part of being human is feeling all those emotions and finding that authentic self. So thank you, ladies.
Welcome.
Thank you. I hate to
Thank
go,
you.
but I have to leave, but I thank you to everybody. This has
Yeah,
been,
you'll have the access to the recording, Carol.
oh,
So
great. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cheerio for now.
Okay, take
Okay,
care.
thanks. Bye,
Yeah,
Carol.
bye.
So
So now, yeah.
we've lost a bunch of folks, but we've got
Yes, we
Aziza
have.
and Shelley back from their breakout room.
And I think, so in terms of the next step, what I wanted to see is if anybody wanted to share, if you're willing to share what you just learned.
Shelley, do you want to share?
I can do it. Well, as I said to Aziza, I have written this book and it's already written, and I'm in the process of trying to rewrite it in a way that can get it published. But I think what I learned is just describing it is like, I think the structure of the storyline is works. It was sort of reflected back to me as I understand it myself. And it didn't feel like hearing it, that there was a big gap or anything. Like, it felt the way, anyway, Aziza was able to give it back to me, was it did have some flow and connection. So it was more, I would say, of affirming that it's kind of its own thing as it is. But maybe that's how I gave it to her too. I'm not sure. And Aziza said she didn't get to finish, so I'm just going to read. Oh yeah, and she said, so the metal detector is the connective tissue of the whole story. It's a symbolic object that is the center of the events, which I didn't say. And so that is actually very heartwarming. Thank you, Aziza, because it's kind of a spiritual symbol. And there is a spiritual theme in the book without it being heavy duty. So I feel like Aziza kind of caught that without me saying it, and that makes me feel happy, actually. So yeah, thank you.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And sometimes it's good. This process is really good to reaffirm and validate what you've gone through, and to hear back from somebody else, what they heard you say. It helps a lot. So that's wonderful. Thanks for sharing.
Thanks, that was fun.
Aziza, did you want to share at all?
Hi. Yeah, so I just want to echo what Sherry said. It is kind of heartwarming when someone is able to like tell your story back to you, and it makes sense to them as well. Because sometimes when you're writing a story, you're not sure like if things are like connected or if there's like a logical flow. So and also Shani was able to kind of pinpoint themes that, because I was just rambling, I tend to ramble. And so she was able to kind of tell me back the themes that reinforces, what I would like my story to be about, so what the heart of the story would be. So I think that was quite nice. I think that as writers, we love talking about our stories and stuff because we spend so much time on it. So I think that even those 5 minutes, it seemed very short. And so it was all kind of like a rush. So I know that I forgot most of it, but Shelly said that she was going to email me a picture of what she had written down as well. So that's great. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed this exercise. Thank you so much.
Great. Okay. So shall I move forward then, Tracy? The last thing I wanted to share, and I think Mindy is now gone, but it might help the rest of you. The last slide here, and this is a little more detail. Once I did the mind map, and once I did all those, I explained finding the theme, the container, all those words, then I created this one more little project for myself. I organize a lot, and it's the only way, like what Carol said earlier about visual, or it wasn't Carol, the person, and I think she's gone now too.
Nancy, I think
Nancy,
it was.
yeah, about visualizing. So what I did, once I did the mind map, I then went through that binder that I showed all of you, and I created this table. And in this table, I wrote out the purpose and vision of my book. And doing the mind map and everything I explained to all of you about the research, I then affirmed and confirmed my purpose and my vision of my book is to move from a journey of self to a wider examination of justice, equity, and humanity, and to an understanding of divine existence. That's the purpose of Letters to Rumi. And then I created a table and I mapped out those 3 themes. The first column is self, the third column is reason and knowledge, and the 5th column is divine understanding. Between each of those columns is what I'm calling 1-inch frame. And 1-inch frame comes from Anne Lamont's book called Bird by Bird. And now in each of these columns under self, I took all the writings that are relevant to the self that exist in the binder, and I put those titles down there. In the 1-inch frame, that column identifies all the pieces that I see that need to be written or rewritten. That ties to the first column, self. The third column is reason and knowledge, and it's all the titles that I have existing that are related to reason and knowledge. The 4th column are all the pieces that need to be written, aligning to reason and knowledge. Then this 5th column, divine sacred, are all the pieces I have that related to divine existence. And then the last column are all the pieces that need to be written. This document goes over 5 pages. It's in legal format. So I didn't share it all. I just wanted to give you a sense of another step of structuring I did to help me with the content that I have to work with. And now that's the last slide, back to the last slide. And I have to try and see you all again. Oh, sometimes this is a little hard managing. Okay.
Did you want to see everybody and have your screen up
Yeah,
at the same time?
Yeah, I'm
So
trying to
if
see.
you go to the view and you put gallery, you can usually see, I think, your everybody
Okay.
and your screen.
Okay. Okay, so just to wrap up, the key things was shifting the words around, being able to shift the words. I did that. I found the container. The themes have become the underlying foundation to my book. The container holds the book together. I'm just trying to pull over the real life board so you can see that. This is what it looks like. Ooh, big thud there. Can you guys see it?
Yeah, looks like it lost its roots.
Yeah, the roots fell off. I wonder what that meaning is. The roots are I have I have a little briefcase for my painting stuff. So they're in there. They're there, they're around. But yeah, the roots, isn't that funny? That the roots are there. What's happened now, there was a question Mindy was asking about, you know, at what point does one do this? And I did this at, you know, I said 2 years ago, I started this point of this creation in 2019. And however, since then, I do see shifts still happening. So where I'm about to go with my last words is, since being an artist in residence, I written a significant amount of my first draft. My mentor gave me feedback, and I think this ties into the roots. There's 2 threads that she has advised me, suggested me to go deeper on, and I know that's part of the fear, is my multiple sclerosis journey, and that multiple MS journey is I'm living in that fear at the moment with the progression I'm going into. And so I'm constantly, and I'm like, okay, am I ready to write that fear? And that's one of the deep roots I need to explore and write about. And I know what the fear is. And I've just uncovered that fear just literally a few weeks ago, when I was asked to be a keynote speaker at a global conference focused on disability and Islam. And I had to do a lot of soul searching on delivering that speech. So that I know is going to be part of this book journey. And the other thread is writing around, which I have written, but I haven't, it's kind of sparsed out. So my mentor said to really pick up on that thread is my father, who passed away in 2019, and he had shared his journey of surviving the partition of India when India was divided between India and Pakistan in 1947. So I have recordings of my father telling me his story, which I have transcribed literally just in this past year. It's 3 hours of audio recording. And so that journey, along with my MS journey, are the 2 threads I need to go into now. So with all that said, this board, the mind map, is not set in stone. It is going to shift, and there are things that are going to move around, and there are things that are going to fall off, like maybe those roots have fallen off, but I need to bring them back. And it's going to happen. And that's about it. I think that's about it of all the things I wanted to share. And I'm open for any other further thoughts or questions with whoever is remaining in the room. I'm going to turn off this share screen so I can see you all again. Let's see. And I've lost the share screen thing.
I can do it.
Can you do it? Because I could.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go. Now I can see you.
All right. Anyone have any questions for Meharoona while we've got her here? I just love the I think because the themes can be so elusive for us as writers, because we're telling our story, that this is really helpful. And that idea too of sharing it and working with a partner, and so they can hear, you know, that can be helpful as well, just because we often, I know for myself, I find it themes actually difficult to uncover. So I'm really excited to work with this. I'm going to do it for my essay and see what, I mean, I kind of know the theme of this particular essay, but even to break it down into so that, you know, for people too, the tangents we want to go on because we feel they're part of the story, but maybe maybe thematically they actually aren't connected. So I think we can use it in that way as well.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Because in doing this and in getting the feedback I've received, I've also learned what voices I can park for now. Meaning, hearing back, you know, the MS journey and the partition journey are in this mind mapping process. In terms of the content, that grid, that table I showed you folks, but I didn't see how those two threads, and letters to Rumi is the other thread, but those specific threads, that to go deeper into that and park all the other voices that I have, the other voices meaning around, for example, with the justice equity, diversity, inclusion, I was going on and talking about my fight against racism and my fight against sexism. And I have so much there, content, and I haven't been told to stop. I've just been told to park that right now and go into these two other threads and explore where that will take me.
I like that word, park. I like that idea. That's a gentle, you know, like kind of just park it there, let it sit. And yeah, because we can't. So that I think in terms of, and I don't know for you, Meharoona, now that you have this mind map, well, you just said it gives you a sense of what to park. And like in terms of revision, I think it could be not only a helpful tool earlier in the process, but really in the revisioning. Because as you say, like you obviously had tons and tons of material. How am I going to organize this? So I really appreciate that. And I'm curious, you know, if someone just has a lot of material and they don't yet have a book like that, I think it could work on that level too. What do I keep writing about, and how can I bring it together, and what's exciting for me, Betty? You could maybe, when you're looking for your new thing to write about, what is exciting for me right now, what's up for me right now, and going into that way. So I feel like you can use it at really any stage and with any size of a project. Your board might not look quite like that if you're writing a short story, though.
It might, you never know.
You never do, but it might be too long.
Yeah.
It's a short story.
Thank you, Tracy.
Well, thank you, Betty, for coming. Thank you, Meharoona, for, yeah, does anyone have any other questions or comments before I?
Well, I'll only say that this is something I actually knew about beforehand, but it somehow didn't come to me when I thought about writing projects. And the notion of, to take what's exciting to me right now and mind map some ideas, it could basically form some measure of a project in some way or another. So really useful. Thank you.
Awesome.
You're welcome, Debbie.
Okay. Have a good weekend, Aziza. I know it's bedtime for you. Shelley.
Thanks for joining us, Isa.
Okay, and
Bye,
thank you,
Shelley.
Meharoona, for being
welcome.
here and sharing your process. And I know even though people had to leave early, they all were thinking and will be watching the recording, and really appreciated what you offered us today. So thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Okay.